Welcome back to House of Hollingsworth. I'm Kate, and today we're going to be making over this antique wardrobe. Now, if you're not a fan of painted antiques, you're going to really hate this one because this is going to become flamingo pink. Hold up! It's not getting a full painted makeover. We're just adding a few fun little details so that this will better suit the kids' room that it's going in. Imagine flamingos here, okay? I hope I haven't lost you all because we're painting this. This antique wardrobe has a lot of chipped veneer and the finish is showing a lot of wear and tear, but it's still a really solid piece and it deserves to be both cherished and used for many more years to come. So let's get into it. I started off by removing the doors and drawers and all the hardware. I did a test patch and was thrilled to find that the old finish is shellac, which is easily removed. Simply scrub methylated spirits onto the surface with superfine steel wool. This dissolves the shellac, which can then be wiped up with paper towels. Repeat the scrub and wipe method a few times if necessary. Removing an old shellac finish is always satisfying. It's just always pure joy to see the grain patterns come to life once the darkened shellac is gone. Look how beautiful the grain on the left is where I've removed the shellac. Like, it's just gorgeous. This type of timber is quilted maple and it's got a real shine to it. I love it so much. This door here has some, I don't know, crayon marks, I guess. So I'm going to scrub these off and hopefully not damage the veneer too much. Here I'm using graffiti remover with a miracle wipe to remove the crayon. I was a little bit worried that I might bleach the timber, but thankfully it was fine. That's the best I can do. It's not perfect. You can still see a few little lines here, but it's better than it was, so that will have to do. Okay, now I'm ready to patch these. I'm going to try and patch them with some veneer that I've got. It's not the same timber, but I'm hoping it won't be noticeable. I'm cutting small pieces of curly oak veneer to splice into the quilted maple in the hopes of it all blending in fairly seamlessly. I cut a piece of veneer and use it as a template to cut the chipped area to that size. I find it's a lot easier to cut the chipped area into a specific shape rather than trying to cut each veneer patch into a specific shape. Okay. It's slowly coming off. Okay, so those two pieces are going to go in like that. Now I'm using contact adhesive to glue the veneer on. So I'll just get a bit here like this. Contact adhesive is great because it grips straight away. So what you do is you put glue on one piece and then you put glue on the other pieces. I think this is the wrong side. And I'll just so sorry about the videography. Got glue on my hands, I've got glue on my jeans. Anyway, what you do with contact adhesive, oh gosh, stop it. Anyway, what we do with contact adhesive, is that the right side? Is that, yeah, that's, is we put glue on both the pieces and we wait for it to dry before we stick them. So when it dries, it won't be sticky to touch. But when you put the two pieces together, it'll grab hold straight away. And it doesn't take long at all to dry. So just waiting for that to get tacky and then I can push it into place. Okay, that's been a couple of minutes. So then we get our little tacky pieces and we just push it into place and hold it down for a little bit. There we go. And don't panic if you get glue seeping out over the edges. Oh gosh, these flies. Whew, driving me crazy. Oh no, I dropped it. Where is it? There. Yeah, don't panic if the glue seeps out a little bit. Because you can just sand it off. Okay, I know this looks a little bit Frankenstein-y, but trust the process. Okay, so that looks awful, but bear with me. Okay, so then I've just got a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a piece of wood, and I'm going to sand the sides. Okay, and then I'm going to sand the face of it. Wipe off the dust, and then I'll put a little bit of Timbermate filler in. I'm using cedar. This is not cedar. The wood is not cedar, but it's not a bad colour match. Just like that, slather it on. It only takes a couple of minutes to dry, and then we'll sand the excess off. I forgot to press play when I sanded the excess off. So here's our two patches that we've added. And because I've just lightly sanded this area, it's a bit lighter than the rest. So then the next thing I'm going to do is just add a tiny bit of orange oil to the area to match, to blend in the wood tone to the rest of it again. And then the last thing I'm going to do is grab a repair crayon and just make this band here a little bit darker so that it carries through like that. So here you can see me adding contact adhesive to more pieces and waiting for them to dry, and then I press them into place. I cut the excess off, I fill any crevices with wood filler, and then I sand it all smooth. I filled this weirdly shaped crack with Timbermate wood filler, and now I'm using blending crayons to match up the colours a little. When you first draw the colour on, it looks really fake, but don't panic because once you blend it in with your finger, it really does look just like wood. I filled in the chips in the veneer as best I can. It's obvious when you look up close. You can see like this strip along here has a lot of patches of veneer. But once you get about a foot away from it, because the wood itself is so busy, it's really unnoticeable. So my next step is to fill in these chips, but I'm not patching these with veneer. I'm just going to fill this in with builder's bog so that I can sand it and paint it, and it'll be really sturdy. So I'm using builder's bog, which is like Bondo. It's a 2-pack hardener. And you just want to mix up little quantities at a time because it sets really fast. So that's how much I'm mixing up. And then I add some of the hardener to it. That's probably too much hardener, so I will have very limited working time with this. Okay, let's go. Eek. Time's running out. There, that's what I want. Okay, it's still malleable, pliable, whatever the word for that is. Builder's bog is sandable, so you can just overfill it like this and then sand off the excess in a couple of minutes when it's dry. Okay, this is dry now. It's probably been about 2 minutes. So now I can sand it back. Now I'm taping off ready to paint. I like using blue tape when I want a good crisp
paint line, whereas I use much cheaper painter's tape when I just need to hold plastic sheeting in place or something like that. I'm using shellac as an undercoat to seal the timber before I paint, and the paint colour I'm going to be using is called Spring Pink by Taubmans. Once the first lot of paint was on, it was any imperfections were really visible. So I've just put a second coat of patching on it. I'm going to sand that down and do my second coat of paint. Oh, I thought I was recording and I wasn't. I'm sorry. So I'm using orange oil to oil the interior of the wardrobe before I put the doors back on. So this shelf has been oiled and this shelf hasn't, and you can see the vast difference. So I'll show you how it changes colour when I oil it. I'm using Jilly's orange oil to nourish the interior of the wardrobe. I like to use a generous amount of oil. Don't worry about it being oily on your clothes. The oil soaks in completely after a few hours, so it's no longer oily to touch. And I just use an old rag to apply the oil, but I'm sure you could buy a special applicator if you want something a little fancier. I'm also using Jilly's orange oil to nourish the sides of the drawers as well. I won't bother oiling the bottoms of the drawers because I'm going to be adding colourful drawer liners there instead. So I've just finished restoring the inside of the cabinet with orange oil, which is nourishing it and gives that beautiful smell. Now I'm going to do the outside of the wardrobe. I'm using the Jilly's 3-step wax set. Restoring polish is step number 1, and this one has a higher percentage of oil in it, so it's good for nourishing the timber. This is step number 2, cabinet maker's wax. This one this fills in all of the little imperfections in the wood and sets hard. And then lemon cream, this is more like a creamy finish that I only ever use a little bit of the lemon cream and then you buff it to a nice shine. Step 1 is restoring polish, and you can see straight away that it's restoring the rich colour of the timber. This step is where the grain pattern really comes to life. Now I know this isn't a great angle to film at, but I'm just about to put cabinet maker's wax on the top of this, and I want you to see the difference it makes when it fills in the little imperfections, especially here. So this is the wax that fills in any little pores in the timber that are open. And I'm being really heavy-handed with this top section because it's it's old. It's just old and it needs filling. I'm not going to leave it all swirly like this. I just want there to be enough product on that it's really getting into the grain. Okay. And you see just how it's more glass-like now that all of the grain has been filled with wax compared to that side. Okay, you probably can't see that from here, but that is looking stunning. It's looking so good. All right, let's put cabinet maker's wax on this panel now. I'm just going to show you another light catching angle. So you can clearly see where I haven't done, and where I have done, it's so reflective because we've filled in all of the grain so that now the light isn't getting trapped in all the unevenness. It is easily bouncing off the surface. The cabinet maker's wax is dry. I can add the lemon cream and then buff that to a nice shine. I'll bring you closer so you can see. The lemon cream is creamy and a little bit goes a long way. So I just use a very small amount and then buff it in. I'll just move you so that you can, I just want to try and capture the light. Can you see? Yeah. I'm just trying to capture the light. Can you see that wherever the lemon cream has been added has a real gloss to it now? Now I'm up to a very exciting step. I get to add the wallpaper. Let me show you what it looks like. Take a look at this. Isn't that fabulous? All right, let me get my wallpapering gear, which is actually my drawer liners gear. Okay. I use peel and stick wallpaper as my drawer liners, and normally on the back of it there are graduated markings to make it really easy so that you know where to cut. This one's just blank at the back, which is fine. We'll just cut it a bit bigger than we need, and then we'll trim the excess off. All the different peel and stick wallpaper manufacturers are different in quality, so I never know what I'm going to get. I'm not going to actually stick this. I'm just going to stick it onto something so that I can hold it flat. You know, I might just stick it. It's laying pretty well. This is actually a beautiful quality. Normally there's quite a bit of adjusting for me to get it just right. But I'm not counting my chickens or my flamingos, but so far it's just gone on beautifully. There we go. Now, on this door, we've got, oh, you can't see. On this door, we've got the keyhole and the handle holes, which are covered now on the reverse. But that's fine. I have marked on this strip here, I've made some markings so that I can remember what goes where. And then I'm just going to use a Stanley knife and try and trim the excess off perfectly. Maybe I should trim it from underneath. This might be an easier way. I'm not sure. Oh my goodness, this looks ridiculous and I love it so much. My goodness, against the pink. Okay, let's put the other one on. I'm moving on to lining the drawers, and you might be tempted to run the wallpaper across a wide drawer like this, but if the pattern has an obvious up and down direction to it, then this looks a little odd. It's way better to lay it side to side so the pattern is in the correct orientation. So here I cut the first piece, making sure it's a little longer than I need, and then I check to see where the repeat is. I checked both sides in case one had less wastage, but they were the same. Unless my client wants something specific like these flamingos, I try to always choose wallpaper without an obvious direction, such as like scattered botanicals or something, so that it can be hung up, like up and down or side to side, and that way I don't have to line up the pattern, and therefore I don't lose so much to offcuts. Peel and stick wallpaper is very forgiving. You can stick it down, and if it's in the wrong spot or gets air bubbles, you can easily pull it up, reposition it, and stick it down again. I often try to line one edge up perfectly so that I have one less cut to do, but it's not necessary. You can just leave excess all the way around and cut all 4 edges if you prefer. See here, I'm lining up the repeat perfectly first, and then smoothing the rest out. And once both pieces are stuck down, then I can trim the excess off all in one go. Now I'm setting up to my staging area so I can take pictures, and this view really shows how small an area it is that I use for staging. It's just one wall in the very front entry of my little house. I put a chair and a rug and a curtain down, and then I realised that it's really sparse and it needs more. So even with the vase, see how sad it looks? So in the end, I hung a big picture above it, and I put matching chairs either side to try and fill the space. And I think it turned out beautifully. I'm really happy with where I patched all of the chipped veneer. It really does blend right in, and I love the pop of pink. I think that makes it so fun for a kid's room. I love the grain pattern, and of course I absolutely love the flamingo wallpaper. I think that just completely makes this. It's such a bold transformation, and at the end of the day, if they outgrow it, it just peels off. I hope you enjoyed my client's flamingo wardrobe makeover. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.